Day market recap for Wednesday, January 21st. A lot more green on the screen today. Back and forth price action today, but things resolved higher once we got this announcement that there's a deal. I guess there's a deal for Greenland, and also that there's a possibility, or no, there is. I shouldn't say possibility. Just the fact that those extra tariffs that were going to be rolled out on Europe are not going to take place. So that kind of takes a bit of an overhang, one of the overhangs off the market. And SPY advanced 1.1%, Qs were up 1.3%, and then IWM once again advanced again, or outperformed again, I should say. I'm going to put this so that you could see the spreadsheet rather than me. Finished up 2% for the day. So I keep going back to, in a lot of these videos, what's performing well so far this year to kind of, what I try to do in these videos is just to basically do that, like keep you abreast of what is going on, what's working really well versus what's not. And with the small caps tacking on 2%, you're now looking at month to date. Look at the difference over here. Should be able to see. Let me zoom in a little bit more so that you can, hopefully that you can see that. But you're looking at a difference now of IWM up almost 9% to start the year versus SPY and Q essentially flat. Last 5 days, even more, it's dramatic. SPY and Qs are down. SPY's down 1.4%, Qs are down 1.7%, and meanwhile, small caps, mid caps just continue to outperform and just act so much better. The Dow is kind of in the middle of that, essentially flat over the last 5 days, but it's impressive. ARK, which we saw, some growth names over the last 5 days. The ARK Innovation ETF really took a step back. Maybe they've got more exposure to crypto in that basket. IBD 50, which is now leading that ETF, and now up 7.7% year to date. And then here's where you can really find also some separation when you break it apart between not just large cap, small cap, but growth and value. And I think that really kind of goes to some of today's outperformers. But value at this point is now up almost 4%. And growth is down 2.2%. Now, keep in mind, we're looking at in both of these ETFs, it's mainly large cap, right? These VUG, VTV ETFs. When you look at small cap value versus growth, they're almost even for the year. So so a couple things here. The conclusion here is that small caps are really outpacing large caps. And really what's underperforming is large cap growth. What is a standout and the huge difference between small cap and large cap growth, they're advancing. That's a difference of about, you're looking at about almost 12% outperformance between small cap growth. So again, it's not all value, but it's all value in large caps right now that is doing the heavy lifting. Bonds, I want to talk about that really quickly because you're not going to you don't hear about when bonds go up, right? Everybody was going nuts about the Japan yields going higher, and for good reason. That was a very large move in what we saw in bond yields in Japan, which spilled over to the U.S. market. But TLT, like if we bring up the performance just to kind of put things in perspective here, TLT was down on Monday. It's not Monday because we had off. Tuesday was down 1.3%. Today they gained back 0.8 of a percentage point. So again, that you probably won't hear too much about it because I guess you're not going to get that many clicks when you get that. But drawing on what I mentioned about value, look at what the banks did today. Really impressive, up 3.9% today. So if we look at the overall banks today and the movers, I think there was a couple names that reported earnings. SFB, here, I'll put this so you can see it. Let me just flip the screen for you so that you can see the movers. But even if, like, listen, I don't own SFBS or FFNC or a couple of these other ones, but I think is just good to kind of know. And what I'm looking at is this is the KB ETF. KRE is regional banks. KBE is all banks. And I believe they are. This is an equally weighted ETF. It is. There's no name that's over 2% here, so you're getting a pretty equal distribution here. But I mean, really, some big movers today. There was what 27 different names in this ETF that were up over 5%. So we'll go through some of these charts. Let me just go back to my spreadsheet because I just want to talk about other things that did well today outside of, the obviously there was a lot of headlines today, but the semis have been consistent too. They're up 3% year to date. Energy had a really strong day today. Nat gas, again, if I remember, I'll go over. It's just hard for me to switch this screen back and forth between charts. I may have to get a new streaming platform because it just doesn't work with the way that I have my monitor set up. But you've got real nice gains there in energy. Transports were up 2.4% today. Yeah, so semis were up 3%. Again, I find semis one of the most interesting thing going on right now because the way that I'm playing the semiconductors so far to start the year is basically just owning the ETF. Because I'm not going to sugarcoat this or tell you a story, but here's what's been going on in the semiconductors year to date. I'll zoom in here so that you could see this. All right, here's your best names. Intel is up 47% year to date. Now SanDisk isn't in this ETF because it was a spin-off and they haven't added it yet for whatever reason. I don't know their index rules, but for some reason they're I guess maybe late to add names that have been spun off. But Lam Research is up 33%. Micron is up 36. You probably know that that's been a leader. ASML is up 27. Applied Materials 26. CLAC up 25%. So, and AMD's been catching up very quickly. That stock is up now 16% and one of the best performings. But again, Nvidia is down 1.7%. So Broadcom is down 5%. Which again is very, by market cap, those are very big names. So I think it's personally, and this is what I try to insert in some of these videos, is I think it's been much harder to be a stock picker to start this year. It's been much easier just to pick the groups because odds are, like, I wouldn't have picked CLAC and I wouldn't have picked Lam Research to go long. Versus the other ones, and some of the most popular names too. And I think Nvidia and Broadcom kind of cover that, but they're probably your more popular names. So not the most popular things are doing very well. And again, I'm kind of speaking to why I've changed one of the things that I do, which I was managing what's called the Tribeca Trade Group Trend Portfolio, and what I did is I changed that from single stock management to ETFs, and I'm finding that I'm having really good performance so far for that. That philosophy. I'm up in that strategy 6.7% year to date by owning some sector group ETFs as well as some international ETFs. All right, so let's get to some charts. So we'll come back to those areas that I mentioned, and then I'm also going to show you. I have also the sector performance year to date. So hang in there, and I'll go through some charts. But I always like to start with the big picture first. Which is what SPY is doing. And we talked about yesterday that we had a very important level to hold, right? So I had talked, what did I do here? Must have done something wrong. There we go. That level that I had mentioned in yesterday's video and in social media was 677. Well, we held that. So that's great. No breakdown so far, but we've got more work to do from where we really bounced I'll bring up the 1-hour chart here where we got to. We did not break through. We just closed like right below the value area for the month. So that level is 685.94. So, and again, I mean, this is a big move today, but really for the uptrend to continue, we've got to get back above that value area for the month, right? And that would indicate strength. All right. One other thing that I'm going to mention too is what do we have on tap for tomorrow for economics? You know, there's a couple things. I've said earnings is going to really drive what's going on here. Besides, obviously, what we've been getting this week with, you know, some distractions. But tomorrow we are going to get the PCE price index, and that comes out at 10 o'clock tomorrow. They're pushing that till usually it's 8:30, but now they're releasing that at 10 o'clock tomorrow, which is another gauge of inflation. So that's the level that we need to overtake. Qs are going to have a different picture. Now, we took out this VPOC yesterday, which is a demand area, which I put in my note today. I believe talked about how the VPOCs that are lower than the price action are possible demand. So that held. But this is still very much challenged. We're at the lower end of the range for now. Right. And again, all of these, we're going to get big earnings reports. Remember the Qs, you know, the top weight, obviously, top weights in the Qs. Is NVIDIA still the top? Very close. NVIDIA is 8.5%, Apple 7%, Google, I think, is about 7% as well. Microsoft and Amazon. So still, you know, if you look at what happened to Microsoft today, again, this is why I stay out of names that are not acting well, that are breaking down. But even with the bump for most stocks today, Microsoft still finished down 2.3% for the day. You got a major breakdown going on in that in Microsoft. All right, and then lastly, IWM, which I like to review as well because you know that just did not that closed underneath the 5-day moving average yesterday, but got right back up there and right back at new highs. Just amazing the strength going on here in small caps. Here's mid caps. All right, one chart before we go into some sectors that I wanted to bring up too is VUG or VTV versus VUG, just so that you could see this relationship. And I love that you could do this in TradingView. Right, look at the weekly. It kind of resembles a little bit about what this spike that happened back in February of last year, where value really outperformed. And then after all the tariff stuff, then it was growth, large cap growth that did very well. But you could see what's going on here. So let's look at a couple groups. What impressed me most today was the banks closing at a new high today. So again, this market, to me, the word that comes to mind a lot is tricky. There's a lot of trickiness in this market right now to try to figure out like what day to day is going to outperform. Right, this market has been better about sitting, right, and understanding that we've got some strong trends, but really things are kind of rotating around a little bit. Here's XOP. This is the weekly chart. And I would keep an eye on this chart. I would keep an eye on 134 for the equally weighted oil and gas exploration production ETF. Here's XLE, which is breaking out. And here's OIH, which is also breaking out. Close to breaking out. Close. It's breaking out for this year, but not all-time highs yet. Very strong. What else? So we covered banks. Again, I want to bring up semis because they've just been very, very strong. Oops, I want to get the right chart here. The daily, I think that's a new closing high. We could talk about a couple things that I did today. Um, Again, I'm having a little bit of I've been having a little bit of difficulty the last couple days. I've talked about how the second half of this month would probably be more difficult, and I'm finding it difficult. I bought some Taiwan Semi today because it filled the gap, but this stock was down today, underperforming today. What TSM needs to do for me is to get back above 332, and it may just need more time. Big earnings gap, filled that gap, but buyers aren't coming in yet, and you're still seeing these high red bars here. So the selling needs to chill out. I also tried going long. This was a name that we saw a lot of option activity in last week, but once again, was not able to break higher. So for now, I got out of this trade. Just too frustrated in it. Just not able to break higher. INOQ was also a disappointment. This thing broke out of its value area middle of the beginning of the day yesterday. Couldn't do it. And big underperformance today, down 4.6%. So again, the market right now, the second, doesn't want this stuff. They're getting rejected. All right, the market wants to be in other areas. XHP had another good day today, even though it did not take out those previous highs, but was still up 2.6% for the day. All right, so that's basically what I see, is that we've got some really strong areas of the market. But for now, they're not large cap growth. Large cap value is doing very well, and all facets of small caps are doing phenomenal so far. So that's your market update. I mentioned I would give you the. Oh, and by the way, like what did very well yesterday was a name that we highlighted in my midday note, which we saw a heck of a really nice call buying in yesterday, which was Rambus. Very nice. Rambus broke higher. Also, I'm looking at the aerospace and defense group, which has been taking a little bit of a breather, as it should, right? I think I went over this in yesterday's video. These things just got very, very hot. Let them come in a little bit. But KRMN came out with guidance. Stocks up after hours on that. So that's a name I would definitely watch for tomorrow. Came down here, look at that. Another example of a VPOC being taken out to the downside, some demand, and right back up. And I was looking at these two stocks at the end of the day. I was looking at KTOS, but I think I like the Carmen even before they came out with the numbers. Also, Rocket Labs held and bounced off the 20-day moving average, which is pretty good. So there's certainly a number of stocks to keep your eye on. Oh, one other area I was going to go over. Sorry, I keep forgetting. Gilead, look at some of the pharma space. Really nice break higher in Gilead. If you don't want to trade Gilead, you could trade the whole group. Look at PPH is starting to come around. I think also XBI made a new closing high today too. A little bit of back and forth price action there. Didn't really do much for that whole JP Morgan healthcare conference, but it looks like this looks like a pretty good chart to me. Spent some time going sideways, and I like biotech and healthcare here. All right, now let me show you performance. This is what we have so far year to date. Uranium's up 30% year to date. Metals and mining, silver miners 22%. Energy, we went over oil services up 19%. Gold miners, clean energy, home builders, aerospace and defense, semis. Blockchain and crypto ETF up 11.2%. By the way, this is what's happening a lot, guys. If I go over a chart and I mention there's a signal, it's not always going to work, right? That's trading. Some trades are going to work, some are not, right? This is one that did not. Here's Bitcoin, right? It's had some support here at 49.06, but it failed, right? I was looking for a move basically up to here, 58. This happens in trading, right? Especially with something that isn't really in a really strong trend, right? That's why I'm sticking to things like semiconductors. And as I mentioned, biotech, right? They've been getting going in a nice trend. This is not in an uptrend, right? It tried to, right? So first of all, the uptrend is up here, 200-day moving average. So yeah, there's going to be a lot of times where things in that are in downtrends continue with the direction of the trend that they're in. And right now, this isn't a downtrend. It's sideways over the last couple months, but too difficult. Too difficult.